Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles of the Bust number 460, and today we're doing battle in a Singleton Gauntlet. And so before we dive into the Gauntlet with our Singleton aggro deck, the spoiler season has begun for Fate's Voyage Onward. We'll take a little bit of time to talk about each of these cards over the course of the next few days as they are released. And so, as you may have quickly noticed across some of these cards like Deluge, Slipstream, and Foamless Blade across the top row, they all have the Elemental subtype. That's going to be a new thing going forward, as we saw with the previous set, and the subtypes added to the various units. So in the past, we had the cats, the dogs, the Elnix, the birds, what have you. Those were subtypes all added to units. Now there's a collection of spells that are going to have this elemental subtype, and then there's going to be other cards that can boost the elemental subtype. So if we take a peek at the first card on the top left, Deluge, for the rest of the game, all of your elemental spells and skills deal 1 extra damage. That is the kind of initial tie-in that we're going to see with the elemental keyword. And so I will say, if you're wanting to see all of the spells and the skills, right, this does mention skills. I know that Annie, her attack ability counts, Mana Soul student counts. I believe there was like 6 or 8 units that had their skills count towards elemental. There's a handy picture over on Twitter from the Play Runeterra account. I will make note that they have listed all the skills that are going to be in the set and all of the cards that are going to be updated, and that does give some spoilers to the champions that are going to be released. And so if I'm not going to mention them here, if you're familiar with League of Legends, you should be able to deduce what those new champions are going to be fairly quickly. But if you're wanting to really take spoiler season in within its fullest, then you need to kind of be aware of being mindful of what you expose yourself to on the X or on Twitter or whatever you get your social media news fix from. But to talk about these cards individually, number one with Deluge, the top left card, I think this is something quite powerful. We've been exposed to these everywhere style of abilities like we saw with Siren Song. They're just incredibly, incredibly powerful in that you can do something now. And then independently of what happens the remainder of the game, that style of thing is going to get a bonus. And so Siren Song with the 1-cost cards was incredibly powerful. Now Deluge coming in and doing the same thing with the spells and the skills. And to me, the kind of doubling up factor that gives this card strength is that spells and skills are much less interactable than you're going to have with units. And so, to a degree, as Siren Song was running rampant, you did have ways to come forward and interact with those units, because that's just the way the games naturally go, right? Combat tricks, silences, removal spells, whatever, that's all really designed to come in and interact with units, but the things that we have to interact with spells and skills is much lower, right? You have things like Deny and Nopify, you have Avenging Devastia and Rite of Negation. Once you get outside of those few corner cases of counterspells, you don't really have any way to stop this kind of effect. And so, while I initially look at Deluge and don't think of anything that really kind of like pops off in super strength, like I really doubt that they put Riptide Rex as being a elemental skill, that is a nice place for extra power, though, right? And that if you're coming down, let's say Mystic Shot is a elemental, I don't know if it is or not, but if Mystic Shot is a elemental ability, now dealing 3 damage, that's just very non-interactable in comparison to a unit. And so I think that this one has a lot of opportunity for success. We'll see how you can break this down. Like, again, if something like Nami's Tide Call or whatever her flip spell is that casts itself 3 times as an elemental, there's some potential there. Just got to have to really look at that list and see how things go. A lot of potential power for this. I just don't think right out the gates it's going to be that super strong. Up next, the Wizened Helmsman, another one with a real collection of power attached to him. So a 5/5 for 7, not that great, but when he comes into play, he manifests 2 different elemental spells you've played this game, and they cost 0 this round. And so that's really going to kind of depend on the quality of the elemental spells, right? If we think of the spells that we typically see out of Bilgewater on their own, that's going to be stuff like Warning Shot, Parlay, Make It Rain. It's all like really cheap stuff that we use to combo with like Gangplank or combo with Nami. and like Fleet Admiral Shelley, and I just don't think those kind of cards are what you're really wanting to do with the Helmsman. You're really wanting to be playing like a 5-cost spell and a 6-cost spell, and then next turn playing the Helmsman and copying those 2 spells again. And it's too tough to tell if that style of thing really exists at the moment. And so my initial impression with this guy is the power level is quite high, but much like Deluge, he's really dependent on the quality of the elemental spells that are running around, and without the knowledge of what's coming out within this set and what's going to be given the elemental tag from the spells in the past, it's a little bit too tough to tell, but very powerful unit there. Up next, the most bonkers one to me, Vikrash the Exuberant, a 2/2 attune and elusive for 3 mana that when it is summoned, it puts this Slipstream card into the top 6 cards of your deck. Slipstream being a draw 2, grant them fleeting. And I just look at this and I'm just like, oh cool, let's play the Fizz deck, right? Let's get Fizz Twisted Fate back out here. We'll play Vikrash the Exuberant. He's going to generate us this really cheap spell that just works fantastically with Fizz. Now we just need to fit some Fleet Admiral Shelleys and some Wiggly Burblefishes in here, and we are off to the races. Like, it is really just absolute bonkers to me that this guy was deemed to be a good idea. And I'll tell you right now, any deck that this guy is good in is not going to be fun to play against. And so I have pretty high expectations for Vikrash. Just the ease of the packages that are available in the Bilgewater elusives right now between Fizz and Father Fury and Vikrash, and then Fleet Admiral Shelley, even though Shelley was just recently nerfed, he has a lot of potential to really just kind of come in and pop off. And then even kind of a comparison point is things like Shadow Assassin, right? Shadow Assassin came down for 3 mana as a 2/2 elusive that drew a card, was deemed to be too good, and so that one had to be nerfed. And while Vikrash doesn't immediately replace himself, the Slipstream added to the top of the deck is a pretty big deal. And I think that we're going to see this guy all over the place. And so he just plays into so many curves so nicely. If you have like a Fizz into the 1/3 crab guy that attunes and puts a 1-cost spell in your hand, and to Vikrash giving you another point of spell mana back, like there's just a lot of really interesting, exciting curves that happen with this guy that I feel like he's going to be a pillar of Bilgewater if Bilgewater isn't just pure garbage throughout the course of the next season. And so very powerful stuff there. So right next to him, we see Slipstream, 1 mana, draw 2, grant them fleeting. The thing that like really ties Slipstream in for me back to Vikrash are these are cards that really do that like Bilgewatery combo kind of thing, right? These are things that just look absolutely fantastic with like Fleet Admiral Shelley, or if we're trying to do some kind of combo shit with warning shots, like this is just where like these cards all tie in nicely together. And then Vikrash just like ties in even more. And so I'm really interested to see what comes out of this. And it's always going to be non-interactive combos, right? That's exactly what I see when Vikrash and Slipstream hit the board. Like, what are we going to do with these cards? Non-interactive combos. It's got to be a real good time seeing what we can get done with these. Up next is the Formless Blade. 1 mana burst spell, deals 2 damage to a unit, and it can't drop below 1 health from this damage. Very interesting card to me. I think it's interesting seeing the Bilgewater removal suite really kind of pick up steam with Fist Fight in the previous set, or Prize Fight, whatever it was called, and now Formless Blade giving Bilgewater this ability to not necessarily kill something, but have really effective removal to take it down to 1 health, and then you can use other Bilgewater things, or I guess Bandle City, Pokey Stick kind of things to finish everything off. And so this is a very good deal, especially this is a elemental spell that can get boosted by Deluge. I am assuming there's other elemental activators and things that want to see you play elemental skills. As it stands, whatever this Bilgewater champion is probably going to say like, level up condition, play 4 elementals across the game, and then like things like Formless Blade just become much more obvious in their strength. And so like I don't know at what price point I'm excited with this to deal 2 damage, One mana for 2 damage isn't it. 1 mana for 3 damage is good. 4 damage for 1 mana is exceptional, and especially if these things are activating some of your other abilities. And so that's what we'll be kind of on the watch for with Formless Blade. We'll have to see if Make It Rain is an elemental rain coming down. It says rain in it, right? That should be a water element or something. And we get to tie in those Make It Rains and parlays with the likes of Formless Blade. Last but not least is Wildfire. So this is one. It's very interesting to me as being a an old man magician, having played these card games for 20 something years. Like if you were looking at this in the context of Magic, a 1 mana spell that deals 1 to the enemy nexus and then it increases by 1 for every Wildfire you've played. This card is garbage, right? This card is absolute and pure garbage in the sense that one damage for 1 mana and a card just isn't worth it. But the thing that I have to kind of stop with this is we've seen time and time again in Runeterra that there's a lot of opportunity just to play these pure garbagey cards if the activator that you get out of it is just worth it, right? And so if you want to look at Gangplank Sejuani playing Warning Shot is a card that in Magic would historically just be absolute pure garbage, right? But in the context of Gangplank Sejuani, it's arguably one of the most important cards in the deck. Seeing things like Samira Fizz and all of the other Fizz decks playing Warning Shots, it works fantastically there. And so that's a space to where Wildfire can really start to pop off. And so if you are saying like, okay, Bust, I'm going to come out and play some kind of really aggressive burn deck, it's just going to have 40 spells in it that deal damage to the opponent's face. In that context, Wildfire is pure garbage, right? But if this is doing something like activating a plunder ability and then also counting towards a champion level up and doing things like that, then it can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And so being in the factions that just got plunder added in, out of the, I guess, 2 sets ago in Glory for Navori, we started seeing the plunder effects added into Noxus. You can see that it's tying in with Annie by the picture, and then it has the elemental tag to it. I think that, if we're out here playing pirate aggro or discard aggro, whatever, those decks never going to want to touch Wildfire. But if you start to think in terms of like, okay, well, I'm playing Samira Fizz, now I have a 1 mana spell that can help me flip Samira, can deal a little bit of burn damage to the face. That's going to activate the plunders for Father Fury and for the Infernas. And then it's also going to help level up my Fizz. Like, that starts to do a whole lot off of just one card. And what I feel like we've really kind of found in Runeterra is the hand resource isn't as kind of stringent as it has been in other games. And so it feels, what I mean by that is it feels like in Runeterra, you can really dedicate like 1 or 2 cards that are just pure card disadvantage, and you don't feel like you're actually falling behind over the course of the game. There's just so many other ways to gain value, whether or not that's like units like Reggie or Conchologist or things like Pokestick that draw a card and cycle. Like, if you want to have stuff to do in this game, it's very challenging to not be able to find it. And so I think it's very interesting in the sense that in other games like Magic and Hearthstone, where the concept of just value is so incredibly important, a card like Wildfire doesn't really strike me as being playable there, to where this has found a numerous number of homes in the place of Legends of Runeterra. And so I'm really curious to see what this does. I'm not out here trying to hype Wildfire as the best card ever made. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if we can play this game and find a home for Warning Shot, then we can most certainly find a home for Wildfire. It's just a matter of the power level of what this activating being high enough to be worth it. And so I'm curious to see what comes out of this one. But those are the spoilers for today. I think we'll get a champion tomorrow. They typically do like support cards champion, support cards champion, support cards champion, then the rest of the stuff. It's we usually get like about a week of this stuff. I think it'll be something similar to that. So I think we'll get our first champion tomorrow. And so back to our singleton action. Today we're going to be playing Discard Aggro, and I will readily admit, most of my time spent preparing for this past Runeterra Open was trying to get a Bandle City Samira discard aggro deck together. It was so super close to just absolutely popping off, and it was just like 1 or 2 cards short of actually being super impressive. And so I really think it would have popped off had Impact Wrench not or Returno Wrench not been changed. Like Returno Wrench changing from Impact to being a +0/+1. Wasn't initially sure if that was going to be a buff or a nerf. It turned out to be a huge nerf in the context of the decks that really wanted it, and this style of discard deck really wanted it. But outside of that, there are just like so many super nice combos out of Bandle City Samira with like Samira and Electro Harpoon dealing damage directly to the opponent's face. Those things activating Gnar, having Samira generate cards and all of this discardy style stuff generating cards, and then using that card generation for the augment that's attached to Ballistic Bot and attached to not Zonite Urchin, attached to Squeaker. Like, just the high powered stuff you could do, and all these synergies that were really swinging were just like so super close. I was so ready and so excited to bring Samira Bandle City discard aggro to the Runeterra Open, but at the end of the day, it was only like a 34 card deck. It's so close to being there. But now that we're in this space of Singleton to where we get to play 3 factions, we can really pull off a lot of this stuff now, I think. And I'm wanting to see how this plays out with the expanded kind of discard package that we get running around in the space of Singleton. And so this is kind of the mishmash of what you would kind of think of a classic discard aggro deck, like Samira Draven that we just played at the Runeterra Open. Has a lot of its elements here, but we also get a little bit of tie-in from Bandle City by adding in cards like Yordle Squire, which is a good aggressive early game unit that also generates a card, and then some of the discard stuff like Squeaker and the 4-mana guy, whatever you're called, Arena Promoter down here at the bottom. Being nice value generators. And so if we find ourselves in these games to where the aggro starts to fall off, they can really pick up a lot of steam to where you play a 4-mana Arena Promoter and then just discard a 1-cost card you don't care about and generate a 5-mana Mecha Yordle. It does incredible work in terms of generating some mid and late game for you when your hand has really started to fall flat. And so, yeah, at its core, at its helm, we're playing like 10 or 11 1-drops in here, a large collection of 1-drops. Once we get outside of the 1-drop space, our champions pick up a lot of the weight in terms of the mid-game. All of our champions are on the more expensive side of things, and then this deck has a lot of the discard themes going to it. Also has a pretty heavy burn element to it with the Electro Harpoons and Get Exciteds and Visions and Blowbacks and stuff. Lots of really nice early game aggression. Gets some value out of the discard aspects, and then finishes off the game with the burn spells. And so, that's it. That's the deck we're going to be doing battle with today. You know this is a good deck because I went to pay the pay-to-win price, and the whole deck is already premium. And so, that's how you know we're doing it right. Uh-oh. Why is my deck not legal? Oh, my God. No, it was. I knew we were playing Gnar, and I clicked on that. I clicked on the deck with the Gnar picture on it, and that's just what I've been in my downtime just playing Eternal still and playing the Samira Warden of the Tribes deck. And that's what that was. So, all right, we're good to go. Back into action, up against what I assume is some kind of PNZ control deck. Looks like it's just Karma Set that probably has a Victor and a burn pack. Well, I guess he's mixing Karma Set with Seraphine. That makes sense to me. Let's jump on in. And so I want to get pretty much as aggressive as a start we can. I'll hang on to Kennen. I would prefer to find a different 1-drop, but I don't think there's a ton of early plays opponents going to play that we're really looking to hit off of a thing like Electro Harpoon. So we found a more permanent discardy card in the Yordle Squire. Sounds good to me. And follow up with the Grave Physician now. Ooh. Do we want to get Squeaker in? Like, he's a smaller portion of damage this turn. Maybe we wait until next turn for Squeaker. Like, this is just kind of more guaranteed damage with the Grave Physician. Assuming opponent doesn't play anything here, we get that extra point. And then it's like next turn we can play Kennen and then discard the Lightning Rush to Squeaker. I think I'm on board with that. He is a pretty high value unit in terms of it's not impossible for the augments to get up to 3 and 4 and really start popping off. All right, I think it's like I want to maximize our kind of stuff here, right? We have the Ballistic Bot that generates the card every turn, and Bot and Squeaker both have Augment, but I'd really like to play a big Mecha Yordle next turn if we can. So I'm just going to go with Kennen. We'll go ahead and discard the Mark of the Storm to the Squeaker, and then just be a little bit slower in terms of this Ballistic Bot. So not a very high roll here. We'll just take the Bouncer and Bolt since it's playable next turn. So we can still, at least on this next turn, add the Ballistic Bot, add Bouncer and Bolt. Then let's say he plays, I don't know, a 4-mana heal yourself guy. We still have a very strong attack coming through for 8 damage. See, it's this stuff. This is this is what I enjoyed so much with the idea of Bandle City Samira, just having both of the augment units in Squeaker and Ballistic Bot, and then now we're out here generating ignitions, leveling up our dudes, dealing damage to the face. It's like the combos in here are so beautiful, and I'm really kind of upset that we didn't get better usage out of them. So now I think I actually just want to play Portal Palooza. Like, we lose out, maybe we don't. We lose out on the ignition that way. We can still burst this out next turn. So let's do that. We can add Blade Squire. What I'm wanting to do is Portal Palooza and then immediately Rummage, so that we get the maximum chance to hit those portaled units and then attack with a full board. We can just do it this way, right? We'll get the ignition. We can just potentially discard some garbage here. I don't think we'll need Poro Cannon this game. It's like I'd kind of like to just have the ignition next turn to deal more damage to face with. Yeah, we can discard Draven's Biggest Fan, but let's start off with the Portal Palooza. Ooh, that's gonna be a choice Rummage. We found somebody who's at Eris. Okay.
I'll show the hunters. This is Tempest.
Big time aggro coming through, am I right? Love seeing him block a Yordle Squire. He probably doesn't have a Caustic Rift if he's out here blocking Yordle Squires. You gotta like that. Alright, some fumes onto Squeaker. Oh, we should have pie tossed the Heimerdinger in combat. Gives him a chance to play a slow spell now. There's no real guarantee that he wouldn't be able to just play spells anyways, but we probably should have tried to have gotten him off the board. And we're looking pretty good, right? Opponents at 3. We got these ignitions being generated. This ignition will take him to 2. So next turn we'll have the ignition, we'll have a pastry that can go to face and to get excited. Not a terrible spot to be in. We are up against some kind of Ionia deck, so they could potentially have some heal, but look at that, just generating ballistic bots off of the that's sick. That's sick. Alright, we're getting close. We'll just start dropping the burns. Opponent says, that's too much. That's too much, Bust. G. Not a bad start.
The storm has broken them.
The storm has broken them. You're supposed to just make fart jokes, Kennen. That's what he usually does. I'd have to pull that thing up. I'm curious if, like, Lightning Rush strikes me as something that should be elemental, right? I'm curious if Kennen just gets some kind of massive boost, just being out here generating 0 mana elemental spells on the reg. That sounds like something that could be pretty powerful. But alright, what are we up against here? Some kind of Master Yi Seraphine deck is what it looks like. A lot of these cards don't mesh, right? Master Yi Seraphine kind of feels like one deck. Jinx, Yuumi, Fizz feels like a different deck. Curious to see what the kind of main thread is going to be here. Let's hang on like this. Like, Always like starting me with a Legion Rearguard here, but this is kind of the downside to not knowing what we're getting into. Is, you know, if we're up against like the Seraphine half of the deck, then I don't really want Electro Harpoon. And then if we're up against the aggressive Fizz side of the deck, I don't really want Scrap Heap. So we'll see. Otterpuss aggro coming at us. We'll just leave the Yordle Squire in hand for now. I'm not going to attack the Yordle Squire into the Otterpuss. We just have too many good options in our hand as it is. In terms of, if we get a full board with Vision, we can pop off with that or something.
Looking for a hero for my hero.
Alright, opponent's drawn. He's drawn his discard aggro half of the deck. Very weird to see it come together like this. Strong stuff, though. Curving Draven into Poppy with the potential to discard a Vision.
Following me?
Time for the main event.
I'm just going to take the damage from the Squeaker this turn. Like, 3 damage isn't that much. So I don't think we really need to be interacting with this guy. Especially knowing that next turn we have this just like massive boost from Poppy. As we always say, we'd rather give Poppy a boost, her boost to 5 units as opposed to just 1 or 2. So I think that's where we're going to find ourselves on this next turn. Sure.
Poppy! Poppy! I found the hero! Yeah? Where? What are you looking at me for?
Ooh, you gotta like see an advanced intel. That doesn't do anything. And Reggie. Alright. Let's get into combat. So we're gonna lose a couple of guys here, but like this is gonna be so sweet if he decides to block Draven with Squeaker. And we just blast him with the Vision. I can't imagine he does, right? We just obviously have Spinning Axe in hand.
Time for the moneymakers.
Alright, looks good to me. Just a gigantic tempo swing. Get that permanent bonus from Poppy onto 3 units, and now opponent's tapped out for the turn. It's going to take quite a bit for them to recover. And then we can look to just generate a Mecha Yordle next turn and try and win off an open attack. I like it. Our Poro Cannon Poppy combos are gone, though. It's too bad Poro Cannon never got the revert back to 0 mana, huh? Like, there's been so many decks that I've wanted to incorporate Poro Cannon into. Like, the Poro Cannon Champion Strength deck just isn't really a thing anymore. The Lulu Poro Cannon decks isn't really a thing anymore. Just a bummer that those are gone. It's probably, you know, realistically at the end of the day, it's probably not that bad that they're gone. But it's okay to get nostalgic and miss them a little bit. So here I'm leaning towards this Mecha Forcer, and then we will just play the 2 Poros this turn. This is so close to lethal. Look at these, just more generated cards for your augment bros, right? Alright, let's get in there. We'll put the support onto the smallest unit that we have, spread out the damage. Should be pretty tough to deal with. Yep. Many Morph onto Draven only prevents 2. And there it is. GG. On to the next one. Whew, get these Seraphine decks out of here, am I right? I think that's might be what we're going to play in our next video. It's like I've really been hyping myself up to actually come out and play a Seraphine deck. And I think the next video might be it. I kind of thought about doing it today, but you know, the videos have been kind of dragging on, and I know the Seraphine deck's going to take a little bit more time. And as we start talking about the new set spoilers as well and taking up 10-15 minutes with that, I'm not trying to make every video for the next week be like 2 hours long. I know some of you would appreciate that. There's at least 3 of you out there that'd be like, fuck yeah, give me give me 2 hours of bust every day. But for the most part, people see that 2 hour video and just say, oof, thank you. Those people aren't hearing this part of the video anyway, so cheers to the 3 of you. Are you all getting excited for football season? It's tonight. It starts tonight. Your Kansas City Chiefs out there playing against the Detroit Lions. Exciting stuff. I'm so hyped. It's just the best 20 weeks of the year. Let's see what we can do here. Reasonable enough start. This Samira with the Darkened Ballista can be incredibly powerful, but there's also, as we're up against another Master Yi control decky looking thing, there's a very real chance that we'd like to just generate the flare and discard it to Grey Physician for the value. So we'll see how this shakes out. This is the kind of hand you can envision as we are playing Constructed, right? You have the Samiras generating the flares and the squeakers and all the augments and everything happening. Like, I wanted it to work so much. Having these flares for Gnar and everything. I think we can just go for the Ballista now. Like, the card that you worry about hitting your Samira here is going to be Quietus, or it's going to be Soul Feast, whatever that's called. And once we get her up to 6 stat, 4 power, she doesn't die to any of those cards. So makes the opponent have to have a have like a Frostbite and a removal spell to take her down.
I have mastered the rain, lightning, and cloud styles.
Alright, so the effective spell we'd be getting here off of Squeaker is going to be either a 2 or a 3 mana. You typically are just looking for 2 manas for the most part anyways, like in these early stages of the game. Just trying to be as effective as you can with your mana, but we really want to be casting Flare in this combat. So I wanted to keep that extra mana back. I mean, look at this. This is just such sweet combos with the Samira and the augments. We're going to Flare and then also boost the Squeaker. I'm telling y'all, like, there were so many games where I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm full mast. Like, this is going so nicely. And then it just turned out to be like a little bit short of a deck. Such a bummer. All right, let's come in on the Callista. We're kind of overstated on the Samira, but I am glad that she's protected here with the Spell Shield. Surprised to see him block the Mecha Force here. I guess it is a strong unit and it lets his innovative blacksmith stay alive. I was kind of more so expecting us to lose the Squeaker this turn since he keeps scaling up in power. And we're at 2 of 6 spells on Samira. I don't expect her to flip this turn. Or, you know, you're a little bit off. So probably couldn't do it anyways. But Poppy was a big draw.
All right, team, adventure time.
Sure. No blocks. Let's see what we can do on this turn. Another very big attack if he doesn't have the interactivity. Okay, well, I guess our Poppy survived. Eradicate's just so far off of my radar. It's one of those cards that feels like it should be seeing a lot of play now that it got buffed down to 5 mana, but doesn't really seem to be what's happening with it. Let's do this. Let's start off with the Grey Physicians. Like, I kind of want to scrap heap, but I want to see the unit that turns up. We can just discard Draven's Biggest Fan. Is that what we want to do? I mean, we're gonna struggle to get these cards up and running. maybe we just discard Get Excited and try and hit a 2. Like, we've got Poppy on board. We want to hit as many units as we can with Poppy. And so adding Draven's Biggest Fan, and then if we Scrap Heap into a 2-mana Mecha Yordle, getting 2 units on the board is pretty big this turn, especially if he just plays like Anivia or plays Thresh or plays Trundle. And we're just facing down like one tall play. He's almost dead at that point. I mean, maybe the discard's actually Darkened Ballista. It's like I just see us getting so close to 8 mana. I want to get the Naganika on board, but maybe the Ballista is the discard. It's just like as we need 3 cards to discard for the Blowback and the Get Excited, we're a little bit short of that, but maybe we'll have the time. See, there he goes. Saurion in. So I guess the other, you know, kind of upside to not discarding Ballista is if we Scrap Heap and miss, then we can still put the Ballista on the Biggest Fan. Maybe that's the way we'll finally look at this. So, right, see, we just hit like Scrap and Dash out of this. I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take the Shadow Tech Walker since it's harder to block and we can't play it this turn. But I think that was a reasonable line of thought.
No backing down.
Okay. Poppy survives, not that bad. We get the equipment back into hand. Kind of cool. There's the big boy. Daddy Draven turning up. Ready for that pool party. Maybe they'll release some more pool party skins with the new set. That's what we needed. Interesting. I'm curious, like, what the angle is here with the Saurion and just going ahead and equipping it with the Fearsome thing. Like, are we just gonna get atrocity'd out of this game? It's certainly a way to lose this game, but like, why are you equipping this as your opening play? I'm going to take it. The thing with Atrocity is we do have Blowback in hand. And so if he's going to try an Atrocity us next turn with the Saurion, we can just Blowback it down. Okay. I've convinced myself. Maybe it's like, maybe we should have blocked with Draven because he's just gonna... Like, we're not going to deal combat damage anyways. The only combat damage we're going to deal this game is with the Shadow Tech Walker at this point. Okay. Let's see if that Atrocity comes in.
Ready, set, slam.
I'd feel a lot better if that's what he does. It's like he doesn't have any mana after that, and so we can pretty safely assume we've won the game if the Atrocity comes in. Cool. GG. Always feels good to be able to deduce what's about to happen to you.
Those other guys, whatever.
Alright, next battle. See, I'm right on occasion. Usually not, but I'm able to see things clearly on occasion. I'm not busy taking my time talking about football and movies and just a bunch of nonsense. Completely unrelated nonsense. Hey, Bust, tell me about deviled eggs. Okay. I can do that. If you leave that nonsense out, we might win a game or two. That's my gift to you. Mediocre gameplay. Stories about deviled eggs. That's what you deserve. Alright. Let's hang on to Draven. Like, I would ideally be picking up a cheaper play here. We should be against a pretty mid-rangey kind of number here with this Demacia Freylord deck. And so, like, just hard mulliganing to some kind of like pure aggro draw doesn't feel spectacular, but let's see. I'm just gonna hit. I kind of like banking the mana here. Lets us just activate this Electro Harpoon off of either Thorn of the Rose or off the Spinning Axe. And the 2 damage off of Darken Harp is not ultra important at this stage of the game. And the Crimson Pigeon is not a unit that's ultra important to hit with the Darken Harp. And so let's just take that little bit of bank and maybe we'll find a good target for the Harpoon. Udyr, you know? Deal 2 damage to Udyr. Right, something's got Challenger. That'd be so hype if Laurent Duelist was an elite. Like, I've played so many of these just smaller plays these days. We've made a lot of usage out of War Chefs these days because it can tackle a Samira and it can tackle an action on turn 2. It just doesn't completely fold to that nonsense. And I'm curious if like the Duelist wouldn't be able to cut it if he was an elite or if he was a 2-3. Probably don't want him to be a 3-2. Dies to Samira. It's the classic answer of this is a, you know, you're playing Hearthstone. This is a bad unit in Hearthstone, and your answer to any unit in Hearthstone is it dies to removal. And so why is this card bad? It's bad because it dies to removal, and that just applies to every single unit in the game. But as we come out here and play Runeterra, you can almost apply dies to Samira to the vast majority of the card pool, and you know it's a valid concern. So here, let's do this. Let's start off with the Yordle Squire. It still leaves us kind of open to play a Thorn of the Rose or to play a Scrap Heap into a 2 or a 3. So I'm just kind of curious the unit that he has that pops up. Now, if he's going to play Gnar, he's either just going to lose Gnar in these combats or he's just going to get shit stomped for 1,000,000. I'm kind of interested in playing this Darken Harp onto the Thorn of the Rose now. Saying, all right, here's your choices. Get domed for 12, just straight up lose Gnar, or put Gnar in front of the Yordle Squire so you can trade for a Spinning Axe and a 1-drop. Enjoy. Gotta like that. That was a good turn. And this Guile, I mean, if opponent's going to continue just playing on curve here, should be pretty strong.
Clumsy footwork.
Our banner will lead the way.
Cool. Gladly get that stuff all off the board. Now we can Scrap Heap. I think we can just do a Spinning Axe at this point. We might actually want to put the Tiny Spear onto a unit. Now we can go Smash and Dash. We got the 3 mana. It's good to me.
I got the need for smashing.
I got the need for smashing, bro.
So shiny, it's gotta be way strong.
Enjoy. It's like even like a Harsh Winds is completely acceptable here. Like he has to Harsh Winds and then still trade away his Gnar. Otherwise he just dies to too much. It's like a pretty good spot to be in. Thinking on it hard, thinking on it long. I think we're good. Uh-oh. There it is, the Harsh Winds. Is he going to try and value block our Draven? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, Fam Jam. That's not recommended.
Suck.
Ripperoni. All right, market a W. On to the next one. Whew. I'm almost done with my fantasy football drafts. It's been such an exciting week. 2 fantasy football drafts, and the football season starts today. Whew. Missed it so much. And so, in one of my leagues, in the air quote serious league, if you will, they have keepers in it, and all of my keepers got hurt. So it's like I picked I picked my keepers like a week or two ago. Whatever Cooper Cup like decided that he was going to go, travel to Minneapolis for hamstring analysis. The day before that is when I announced my keepers. So I kept Cooper Cup and I kept Travis Kelce, and then Travis Kelce, he thankfully didn't have as bad of a knee injury as he could have, but he hurt his knee yesterday, which is the day before the draft, and I was like, oh well, I guess we're just going to be team injury here. And so what I did, I just kind of went for the fences. I picked Jonathan Taylor in maybe like round 5 or 6 of the draft. I forget when it was. It was a very good time for him to be still available. It was just kind of one of these things where it's like, well, if we're just going to like have this horrible team for 4 weeks, if we can get like 1 win in the first 3 weeks, and then on week 4 our team just activates and we just like run the league from there, that sounds pretty fine, you know. If Cooper Kupp's hamstring gets better and Travis Kelce's knee gets better, and I don't know, Jonathan Taylor gets traded or whatever is supposed to happen with him, that sounds manageable to me. So we got some hopes in that. It's a very high risk, high reward strategy for the season. Probably just going to get annihilated, but sometimes dims to breaks. All right, but did we play this guy earlier? I can't remember. The champions are in different order, but it's not the same. It's just these are always weird to me. It's like, okay, I get what you're doing with Seraphine, Victor, Twisted Fate. That's some kind of control decky thing. You can just play Vi. Like Vi's an easiest 6 champion to just put in your to put in your deck. But it's weird to me seeing stuff like Yuumi. Yuumi doesn't make sense to me. All right, just gonna take an open here. This is the spot where you would love to just see a Caustic Rift, am I right? See if opponent can't pull off the 5-for-1 for our dudes on board. Looks like it's about to come in. Something's coming in. Say a prayer for Mystic Shot. Don't want to be seeing Caustic Rifts. Pokey Stick. All right, we can manage. So do we want to go ahead and play Vision? I was thinking about going ahead and playing it. Like if we had an easy discard activator, I'd hold on to it for 2 turns from now, but getting an extra 3 damage here gets him really close to lethal. The downside to that is we can just play Gnar this turn and have him flip. So maybe we'll just take that angle. Like, we can still make the same Vision play a couple of turns from now, and it doesn't feel as all in. In the sense that, there you go, in the sense he plays Twisted Fate, clears out our team, or he plays just about anything. We could still play the Vision in the next combat and maybe just finish off the game. Uh-oh. Our team disappeared. I kind of want to go back and play the Vision now. Kind of want to take that one back. Jinx. She's real close to a game ender here. And then it's always interesting having these hands to where you can put Naganika onto Flame Chompers. Do we want the shield? I think so. We're not gonna like connect with damage with any of our units that are on the board. So probably find ourselves just putting the shield onto Flame Chompers and keeping it relevant in combat. I meant to put it on the Flame Chompers. I put it on the Yordle Squire. Sometimes the clicks aren't as good as you want them to be. So how do we feel about this? If he doesn't block our Twisted Fate, do we want to Vision? Since he would then just die to a single Death Rocket. I think I'm kind of on board with it. Like, if he wants to spend his turn just, like, dardling around flipping this Twisted Fate, I think that sounds like a win. Now we're not doing it, of course, but getting opponent to 3 would be such a big deal.
Where'd we end up this
Uh-oh.
time, book?
Yubi Twisted Fate. Aggro Twisted Fate coming in. Look out. Alright, what do we got? We should be able to fit most of our hand on the board at this point. I'm going to play the Grave Physician and then just not well, I mean, might as well just discard Vision, right? I was gonna say I don't want to Well, the downside to getting the card draw is it probably can't get the Jinx on board then. Let's just play.
This transient, as long as the body holds blood. Let me show you a little sleight of hand.
Nothing slight about these hands. Justice first hit. Trouble coming
Alright,
at
so
ya.
we gotta stop there. We can't just can't just let our Jinx fall to Vi. I'll block. We're not going to deal a point of combat damage for the remainder of the game. So let's just go ahead and prevent this. Help us not die to some random bullshit like Mystic Shot blowback. Then we'll get our Jinx on board. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, did we block with the... Did we fuck this up? God, we can't Death Rocket now. God damn it. Did he hook our unit with the Ballista on it? He had to have. We blocked with the unit that didn't have stats.
Jinx?
God damn it.
I'll wipe that grin off your face permanently.
Well, I think we still want to go ahead and take the flip. We at least get to draw 2 cards this way.
We're
If we draw, get excited or something, we can finish off the game. Yeah, that's brutal though. That's brutal. So what do we got? Mystic Shot
Now it's a party.
and Poppy.
Wouldn't be a quest without some danger.
Well, I mean, we might do something interesting this turn. Get the Vi off of the board or something, depending on where she blocks.
No backing down.
You're bluffing.
You're bluffing. Tell him, Steve.
What?
You know, it's not terrible.
You're bluffing.
Sing with me.
Gives up on Seraphine. Okay. I'm gonna send the Mystic Shot to face. I don't. I want all of our burn spells to end the game. So it's like if we roll into next turn, I want a Pokey Stick to end the game. Like we need to be able to finish this off with burn. And so hitting a Pokey Stick, hitting a Pirouette, any of that kind of nonsense, I want to win. I don't want to be 100% reliant on a Death Rocket ending the game. It's just too easy for us to draw like a unit and not be able to play it. He's gonna immediately get this hook with Vi. God, man, having that equipment come back to hand was such a disaster, though. I don't know if we... Yeah, we probably didn't have a way around it. That's just the way the hooks went. Hi, fellas, squeeze him good. Poro Cannon. Poro Cannon at least lets us generate a Death Rocket if he open attacks on us. And to get excited. Nice.
All or nothing.
Very nice.
Yes, you could do.
Is that it? Plenty of heal coming out of Targon. No guarantees that this is actually a game winner, but you gotta be happy enough that the top deck came through.
Everyone goes.
It worked. GG. Oof. Get ourselves into that final battle. Gotta love it. I was just thinking back to the days of Expedition and getting to the final battles. It's like I talked quite a bit about Gauntlet in a video I did a few days ago, to where it's like the rewards just don't feel that satisfying, right? It's like we spend however long this is, like an hour and a half playing a Gauntlet, and we get the full 6 wins, and that should feel pretty good, and then it's just like 6 trophies or 10 trophies, whatever it is, and that's it. And it's like it doesn't even tell you that you won the shards and stuff, and it's just it feels very inconsequential, like the amount of time that you spend in the event in terms of the rewards that you get back. And in large part, I'm pretty certain the rewards are almost exactly what they were in Expedition. Like Expedition, you played to 7 wins. I think you had to get 6 wins to be shard positive, and maybe 5 wins was break even, which was pretty tough to do, like all things considered. But like that, just like having the screen pop up to where you got the extra cards and whatever, it felt like, you know, you were actually getting a prize or something. And like for me to like play Expedition and just like give 0 fucks about the prizes, it still felt like I was winning something, to where when I win trophies, it doesn't feel like I've actually won anything. And so it's very strange, the psychology that goes into that. I don't know if that exactly makes sense or not, but it just feels, it feels like I don't know. I want it to have like some fireworks or something to to tell me what a great job I did. I just don't get it. So it's tough. So how do we want to handle this hand? Like, I don't think just like rushing out this Boom Baboon is the way to go. Like we don't have a draw to where the Flame Chambers is spectacular. Trying to think if we wanted to like hold on to the mana for the Scrap Heap, and yeah. I'm very nonplussed about what's happening there. But no, then that ties into the reward track in the gauntlets as well, and it's like I don't know. I kind of feel like they're okay, you know, like the pens and the titles and the buys, which are the big one for the kind of competitive crowd. I feel like adding the adding those just like prismatics to the end, while nice, right? That felt like something they kind of recognized that, you know, once you like get to that second buy, there's not a reason to play. And yes, there's like that's a terrible excuse for things. We play the game because we love it, but as you get to that point, it feels like there's just not a reason to play, and that's just like something a little extra at the end that they've given to you, and it just doesn't feel. I don't know. It's like seeing those prismatics at the end feels worse than the thing just ending at the last Prime Glory. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but it feels very strange to me. All right, well, let's hammer through this combat. We're about to go burn mode here, and so we can hook this dum-dum out of combat. We're coming in for 9. I guess we should have ignited first, right? We're going to ignite anyways, and so we missed out on a point of damage from the ballistic bot. But with the way that the tempo is going in this game, I think we're going to have a hard time losing. But definitely a mistake, right? He only has 1 mana. He's probably not going to make any plays. Should have ignited and then ballistic botted. Here comes the rest of the burn package, though.
Gotta find more stuff.
I'm leaning towards a scrap heap block on this, right? We'll just scrap heap the Grenadier. It's probably not necessary. So who do we want? The Bouncer and Bolt? Look Dum Dum out of combat again? Seems fine. I'd rather him be blocking Bouncer and Bolt than be blocking our Ballistic Bot. So on this next turn, we're just going to Spinning Axe our smallest unit, currently Crimson Pigeon, discard the Grenadier, hit with everybody. That should get us right near the lethal, if not completely there.
Now we're cooking. Watch and learn.
Something like that.
Are you going to the
And we just
show?
have infinite damage in hand. Feels pretty good. I think we did it. Alright, heal card, sure. Loaded Vessel. Yazing Dardraven. And that's it. Market the W. GG. Well played. Give me those 10 trophies. See, watch this. Look at this. We won. It feels good. We 6-0'd this thing. You said, yeah. Victory. I did a good job. Click through. And it's just like this. You got 10 trophies. It's like you don't even see the trophies. You just unlocked text. And then you push continue and you're done. It feels so anticlimactic. It doesn't feel like you really accomplished anything. And so, as I say, like I know I've talked a little bit of negativity about gauntlets. I will say, I think gauntlets have been improved immensely since the competitive 2.0 release. I think that the direction they're taking the competitive stuff is fantastic. And I feel like that while Riot may not immediately completely hit the mark anytime they release a new feature, they tend to get pretty close and then they iterate on it and do fantastically. And so it's actually to me like a real big bummer to when Riot releases a new feature and then people go, oh, I tried it and it sucked. This is fucking stupid. I'm going to go play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it's such a bummer. Like I think throughout history, Riot has really shown just throughout the course of the game, like the initial implementation of something may not be perfect, but they iterate on literally everything, and everything just improves the whole way. Like there's just the release of the balance cycles and the release of the competitive 2.0, and just everything has just been continually improved on in a positive fashion, and it is hard to find a game that has nailed it in such a clever and a good way. And so I know I was talking a bit of trash about gauntlets, but I feel like fully that Riot's going to iterate and it's going to be something that we all really enjoy. But nonetheless, back to the deck, pretty easy set of games. I felt like we cruised right through that gauntlet, and this is, again, a very powerful deck. I'm glad we got to showcase at least a touch of some of the stuff that I really enjoy out of this Bandle City Samira. You didn't get to completely pop off because the density of Samiras and Ballistic Bots and Squeakers and Electro Harpoons isn't here because we're playing Singleton, but I think the deck is actually really close and eternal, and it's very cool to be able to come out into the three faction space that is Singleton and have a little bit more opportunity to use the remainder of the discard packages to where it falls just a little bit short of the Noxus Bandle City version. But I'm hoping, man, like, I don't know if it's going to be the next set. I don't know if it's going to be the set after that, but at some point, this Samira Bandle City discard deck is going to find that like 1 card, 2 cards short that it is, and it's going to fucking pop off and be strong. And I can't wait for that day. Like, I got so close this past Eternal Season. It's just not there yet. Maybe an Eternal Season or 2 down the road, this deck will really be popping. I don't think we've got the Noxan champion this year, right? That was Samira. I don't think we've gotten any of the Bandle City offerings, though. What was it? It was like Samira and Set and Poro King, right? And then the next set was Nico and Nidalee and another champion that didn't matter. Maybe that one was the Poro King one. And so I don't think we've seen a Bandle City champion up to this point. And so maybe the Bandle City kit will get updated by then, or maybe a variety patch will come out or something, and the deck will start to pop. But nonetheless, this iteration of the deck quite strong. There's some tweaks you can make, but this is a pretty good first run at it. It should be able to take you to a lot of trophies pretty handily and quickly, as a lot of these events can run a little long. And so, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.